When someone has been so toxic, so abusive, and hurt you so deeply that you must walk away forever and just never look back, it's not just about personal choice. At that point, it's about survival.
The Narc Ninja, bringing you the tools and tactics to heal and deal with users and abusers. And now the Narc Ninja himself, Christopher Fairchild.
Hi, and welcome to video 9 in this 10-part limited series about narcissistic abuse called the Narc Ninja 101 Survival Guide. Also, welcome to the Narc Ninja channel. If you are going no contact with a primary family member like a parent, this video will be very helpful, but just know I will be making some special videos just about going no contact with family in the near future. Making the choice to go no contact is never about the other toxic person. It's about you. It means you honor, care for, and love yourself enough that your life and your peace matters. It means that you know that narcissistic drama is abuse. You know that it is harmful to you. It is violence against your heart and soul. It means to you, you matter. And when those feelings do come up, wondering how they're doing without you, not being in their life anymore, and gosh, do they still think about you, or wondering if you should maybe just take a peek at the Facebook, just to make sure they're still alive. Just do the same thing you do with that really nice lady who wanders around the restaurant with those roses for sale. You just put your hand up to those thoughts and you say, no, thank you, and move on. Most going no contact lists are very scorched earth. And in this version, I do actually try to include some sensible and important exceptions to the rules for your own safety and for any other obvious reasons. Quick disclaimer though, if you are co-parenting with a narc, then you need to adapt this list accordingly. For instance, they have maybe they have your child for the weekend and are calling you, and even if you don't answer, just make sure that you do make sure to listen to the message in case there is an emergency, for instance. And if not, you can text them your response. So obvious stuff, but just want to go over it. Please also be extra sweet to yourself through this, and remember that this is going to maybe be hard. Make sure that your support system is in place and ready to be there for you, even if it's just one person or your therapist or a pastor. Most importantly, be there for yourself. Feel and express your feelings and give yourself compassion. You deserve that compassion and you need it. There will be loss and there will be some grieving involved. And I think it's best that we just get that out of the way now and that you make sure you know that ahead of time. There will maybe be wonderful people, possibly even family members, kids, and animals you may have known and loved for years, and they may no longer be safe for you to actively have in your life because of their connection with your abuser. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so let's get started. Like all other Narc Ninja moves, please don't talk about how you're going no contact, except, of course, to your very closest and dearest. This is not something you should ever announce to anyone, especially the narc or any people that you have in common. This is a do it, not say it thing. And remember, you're now a badass Narc Ninja boss, so keep it zipped. Stop answering any of the abusive narcs calls, and in some circumstances, you may not want to block them right away, because you may need to see if it's them calling, and if so, if they are calling you incessantly. If someone, for instance, is calling you, let's say 50 to 100 times a day, then they could be escalating to a dangerous place, and you might need that information so that you can make some choices about your security. Also, if they are leaving you threatening messages, you need to not erase those and contact the authorities immediately. But do stop answering all of their calls. If it's more of a casual situation, obviously, then this is not the case for you. Then you can go ahead and disregard all voicemails, block their number, and delete their contact. Also, don't read or answer any emails or snail mails from them. In fact, block them from your email once again, unless they are a co-parent or a former business partner. Then in those cases, there may be some legal liability you may need to know about. Otherwise, just toss or delete. The last thing you need to know right now is, some of the unending reasons about how much they miss you or what a total jerk you are. You really don't need one more drop of their poison. You're detoxing from it now, and it's best not even to look back. Unfriend, unfollow, and block from all social media. Don't leave even a door cracked so that you can, in a moment of weakness, because they're going to come, take a peekaboo in on them and see how they're doing. If you do, you have broken no contact. Also, narcs are famous for quickly replacing their old narcissistic supply, you. And the very first thing they do is plaster them and their new supply all over social media to tell the world and show the world how happy they are. So you might not even want to see what you might be tempted to take a look at. And if you do block them, you would have to unblock them to look. My advice, just don't do it. Consider changing your route to work, what gym location you go to, the restaurants, clubs, beaches, parks, all of it, because you do not want to run into them. Review videos 4, 5, and 7 in this series to prepare yourself ahead of time if they do drop in or pop up, so that you can just respond like a badass Narc Ninja boss. After going no contact, I would say the number one thing to look out for is reminiscing about the good old days with them. And, another common thing is feeling guilty or even questioning your choice to go and see. And there may well be people in your world who will also help you question your choice and maybe even make you feel guilty or attempt to make you feel guilty because the narc is really such a good person underneath. They're just under a lot of pressure at work, and because you've turned your back on them, they've started drinking again. I mean, just when you think you've heard it all, right? So know that you are going to need some support throughout this process. A really great counselor or even a friend can help remind you of why this is such a good choice you've made. And this can be a moment where you get to flex that muscle of not letting your emotions drive the bus. I have been known to even talk out loud to my inappropriate guilt about setting needed boundaries. And I might say to that unhealthy emotional inner voice, yeah, I hear you, but you're not in charge here. My strong, healthy inner adult is. Thank you for trying to help, but you need to go sit down now and be quiet. Now, that might sound kind of silly, but I'm telling you, it works. If you didn't keep an abuse journal or list all of the times that they did let you down and mistreat you in some way, now might be a good time to do that. We can all get lost in euphoric recall. I talked about that in the last video, especially when you are in the process of grieving the death of that dream and all those broken promises. And right now, that's the absolute last thing you need. For your closest friends and most trusted friend or friends, you might talk to them about what you're doing and ask if they can be there to remind you of how bad it was if you start to feel regret about your unhealthy choices. Sometimes my good friends kept better track of how awful that person was to me than I was. So you also need to plan ahead for well-meaning people you maybe don't know that well, who might ask you why you're no longer with the abuser, why you don't hang with them anymore, or where they went, what happened to them. First, I want to say, you don't owe anybody an answer about your personal life, period. That's it. But that said, if you do choose to answer those kinds of questions, it's really best not to trash talk about the blatherskite of no consequence, as my mother would say, and maybe have some responses ready if that does happen, like, oh, you mean that bloviating bucket of bonkers? Oh, well, they wouldn't bend to my will, so I had to feed them to the wood chip machine. The wood chipper. No. Okay. Just kidding. No, you might say something like, that's a good question. I wish I had an answer for that. Or, well, I think we've just been, both just really busy. Or, well, we're just not a match. Those kinds of innocuous responses land like a lead balloon and will shut it down usually. But if you tried all of those and they're still at it, I say it's a time to respond with something a little more pointed, like, wow, you are really not letting this go, and frankly, it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. Or, can we please move on from this? Most people will stop at that point, and you can find something else marvelous to connect about. And you might want to tell them every sort of detail about how terrible the narc was, especially if you know the narc is now lying about you and starting a smear campaign. You might just want to open up and, let those gossip floodgates just rip. Don't do it. Don't let the narc's worst behavior make you trash them back. Stay smart and keep those things private from anyone who is not your closest and dearest. It's for many reasons, not the least of which is your safety, but more importantly, that you refuse to let someone else's character disturbed, nasty behavior dictate yours and who you insist on choosing to be. And my personal favorite reason is, if you can keep your NC promise to yourself and stay in your communication integrity at the same time, then that means you are now officially a kick-ass Narc Ninja boss. Gosh, I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you do all those YouTube-y things like hitting the buttons and the bells and the comments and the things, sharing with your world. And also if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what has worked for you in the past. In the next and final video in this special series, I'm going to wrap it all up with some final thoughts about letting go of the past, the power of healthy self-love, self-care, and reclaiming a life that's filled with peace and joy. Till then, keep shining your powerful light and be you to the full.